Hello friends, my name is POONAM BADGUJAR, senior faculty in the Vidyamandir classes. Today we are going to start with the matter and the chemical formula of the 7th class. In this topic we are going to cover what do you mean by matter and the types of the matter and the elements and the compound and the chemical formula and how to write the chemical formula, and then you have a homework worksheet, right? First of all, if you see the diagrams over here, you will see the chair, table, pen, and human being, and cup, and fully furnished room. If you see what is the common in all the things, all are basically occupying the spaces and they have some masses. This is known as the matter. Matter is what? Matter is anything which occupies the space and have mass is known as the matter, from which the matter is made up of. The matter is basically made up of the very small particle, or you can say the very tiny particle, which is known as the atom, right? What do you mean by atom? Atom is nothing but the smallest particle. If we say that the human beings is made up of, the human beings is made up of the cells, or you can say the tissue, then the tissue is the building block of human being or the living system, right? Similarly, that of the non-living things like matter, table, chair, and you can say pen, pencil, your phones and laptops, everything is made up of a very small tiny particle that is known as the atom. It is the building block of the any substances in the world, right? Just take an example of your building, right? This is the HAL building is there, from which the HAL building is made up of it is basically made up of the bricks. Brick is the basic and the smallest unit from which this whole building is made up of. So for a building, the brick is the atom. For other substances, different atoms is the smallest particle, which is basically the whole bigger substances made up of. So it is nothing but the building block, right? It is basically discovered by the scientist which is named as Dalton discovered the atom. And if we see the atom, and the small atom has some subatomic particle. Subatomic particle means atom consists of the proton, neutron, and the electrons. And I have shown the diagram of the atom in which electrons are, if you see the two circles are there in the whole picture. One is the bigger circle, one is the smallest circle. The bigger circle is, this bigger circle is whole atom boundary. This smallest circle is nucleus. Nucleus consists of proton and neutron, and the electron is revolving around the electron is revolving around nucleus, right? Nucleus is made up of proton and neutron, and the electron is revolving around the nucleus. These whole things is the whole structure of the atom, right? Now, what do you mean by proton? What do you mean by neutron? What do you mean by electron? Let us discuss this. Proton is positively charged, electron is negatively charged, and the neutron has no charge. You can write over with the help of the pen also. Proton is positively charged, neutron is zero, no charge. Electron is negatively charged, right? And who discovered electron, proton, neutron? Proton is discovered by the E. Goldstein. Neutron is discovered by James Chadwick, that is a J. Chadwick. Electron is discovered by J. Thomson. And where is the location of the electron, proton, neutron? If I say the electron is revolving around the nucleus, proton is inside the nucleus, neutron is also inside the nucleus. The nucleus is consisting of the proton and the neutron, and the electron is revolving around it, right? And if I talk about the symbol of the electron, proton, neutron, the symbol of the proton is P positive, neutron is N raised to power 0, and the electron is E negative, right? Now, what do you mean by matter? I already discussed in the two slides before Still, what do you mean by matter? Matter is anything which occupies the space and have mass is known as the matter. What do you mean? What is the substance in the world which is not a matter? Think. If you think the substances which is non-matter, if I talk about, if you think you have emotions, right? Where these emotions lie? In your brain. It does not have any, it does not occupy any mass, it does not occupy any space, it is not a matter. Love, if I talk about, it does not occupy any space, it does not have any mass, it is not a matter. What do you mean by matter? Which occupy the mass and which have the space. Which occupies the space and which have the mass is known as the matter, right? Matter is divided into two types. First of all is the mixture and second is the pure substances. Mixture, if you talk about the mixture means anything you mix together and form certain new substances form, and you can mix that substance in any ratio. You can mix that in any ratio, means if I take the 1 gram of sugar and 2 grams of the salt, they both are mixed together. This is a mixture because मैं किसी भी रेशियो में किसी चीज को भी अगर मैं मिक्स करूंगी, that is known as the mixture, right? If I talk about the pure substances, that a pure substance is only made up of the one substance. मतलब सिर्फ एक ही चीज से pure substance कोई भी बनाया है. जैसे कि if you see the example, I have shown this picture on your right hand side. The chemical elements, यहाँ पे एक element लिखा हुआ है, diamond एक element लिखा हुआ है, gold लिखा हुआ है, tin लिखा हुआ है, ये सारे के सारे is made up of the only one type of the substance. If I talk about the diamond, तो diamond किससे बना है बेटा? Diamond is made up of the only carbon, तो सिर्फ इसके अंदर में carbon है. If I talk about the compound is only made up of the वन सब्सटेंस. कंपाउंड में मैंने एग्जांपल दिया हुआ है, जैसे शुगर है, वाटर है, बेकिंग सोडा है. शुगर की अगर मैं बात करती हूँ तो शुगर एक कंपाउंड है जिसके अंदर कई सारे एलिमेंट्स मिलकर एक नई चीज बनाया हुआ है, बट वो नई चीज सिर्फ एक है. एक का मतलब है कि उसके अंदर और कोई चीज नहीं है. अगर शुगर है तो सिर्फ शुगर है, नथिंग एल्स इज देयर. इफ आई टॉक अबाउट द वाटर, देन इट डज नॉट कंटेन एनीथिंग. एनीथिंग मीन्स नो आयंस, no any dissolved substances, nothing. It is just a pure water which only consisting of the hydrogen and water in the ratio of 2:1, right? If you see the crystals, here is the crystals of the salts and the protein crystals and copper sulfate crystals. It is only made up of that substances only, is known as the pure substances. Mixture में क्या है? कितना भी कितने में मिला दो, that is known as the mixture. और mixture को हम physical process से अलग कर सकते हैं, but pure substances में physical process लगा के हम separation नहीं कर सकते. Physical processes you have already studied in the 6th class, जैसे कि filtration हो गया, evaporation हो गया, इन सारे process है, हैंड पिकिंग हो गया, ये सारे के सारे फिजिकल प्रोसेसेस है जिससे मैं मिक्सचर को सेपरेट कर सकती हूँ, बट एक प्योर सब्सटेंसेस को सेपरेट आउट नहीं कर सकती उनके कंपोनेंट्स में, राइट? This is, or this slide is all about the mixture and the pure substance, and I have shown the diagram. This is, I think, clear to you. Now I'm just going deep into the mixture. Mixture, you know that they don't have the uniform composition. You can mix anything in any proportion, right? Any ratio you can mix anything. Now mixture is classified into two types. First is the homogeneous mixture, second is the heterogeneous mixture. If I talk about the homogeneous mixture, you can take the example of the sugar and water. Take the 1 glass of the sugar and mix the take the water, 1 glass of the water, and put the spoon of sugar into it and stir it. Stirred it continuously so that the sugar will dissolve into the water, and what you will observe after some time, if you taste the water from the top of the glass, the taste will be the same. If you taste the water from the bottom of the glass, the taste will be the same. That is known as the uniform composition. मतलब पूरे glass में composition कैसी है? Same है, right? You can take the salt plus water, alcohol plus water, ये सारी की सारी एक एक जैसे मिक्स हो जाती है. Then heterogeneous mixture. What do you mean by heterogeneous mixture? They don't have the uniform composition. Just take an example of the pizza. पिज्जा की अगर मैं बात करती हूँ तो पिज्जा में कहीं पे टमाटो ज्यादा है, कहीं पे ओनियन ज्यादा है, कहीं पे कैप्सिकम ज्यादा है, तो कहीं पे मशरूम्स ज्यादा है. दैट इज द नॉन यूनिफॉर्म कंपोजिशन की हर जगह हर एक स्लाइस पे उतनी क्वांटिटी नहीं होती है जितनी दूसरे वाले स्लाइस पे है. दैट इज द नॉन यूनिफॉर्म कंपोजिशन. दिस इज द बेस्ट एग्जांपल ऑफ योर नॉन यूनिफॉर्म कंपोजिशन और हेट्रोजीनियस मिक्सचर बाय टेकिंग द एग्जांपल ऑफ द पिज्जा. और यू कैन से कि मैंने ऑयल और वाटर को मिक्स कर दिया. टेक अ ग्लास ऑफ वाटर एंड पुट सम 2-3 ड्रॉप्स ऑफ द ऑयल, राइट? तो व्हाट यू विल ऑब्जर्व, द ऑयल विल फ्लोट ओवर द वाटर. दैट यू कैन से कि मेरे को ऑयल अलग दिख रहा है और मुझे वाटर की लेयर अलग दिख रही है. दैट इज नोन एज द हेट्रोजीनियस मिक्सचर. और अगर मैं बात करती हूँ इसकी और हेट्रोजीनियस मिक्सचर की, तो यू विल सी अ लेयर ऑफ सेपरेशन, कि मतलब मैं दो चीजों को सेपरेट कर सकती हूँ एक लेयर से. दैट इज नोन एज द हेट्रोजीनियस मिक्सचर. एंड होमोजीनियस मिक्सचर में कोई लेयर को मैं सेपरेट नहीं कर सकती हूँ. Now, if I talk about the pure substances, then the pure substances is classified into two types. First is the element, second is the compound. What do you mean by element? What do you mean by compound? Let's us discuss this thing. Element is made up of the one type of the substance. Element is made up of one type of substance, means it is only one substance which element is consist of. Compound, if I talk about, it is made up of the two or more substance, or you can say the two or more elements combined together chemically in fixed ratio. Fixed ratio means कि they have the fixed ratio. If I talk about the water, water का formula, chemical formula क्या होता है? H2O. What do you mean by H2O? जिसमें हाइड्रोजन 2 में है और ऑक्सीजन का रेशियो 1 है. दैट मीन्स वाटर के अंदर जो वाटर इज मेड अप ऑफ द 2:1, राइट? आई कैन से कि हाइड्रोजन रेशियो ऑक्सीजन इज 2:1, right? That is known as the compound. Compound has an example, water is an example, that is H2O. Carbon dioxide, CO2. Magnesium chloride is MgCl2. Calcium carbonate is CaCO3. Sugar is C12H22O11. And the naphthalene and the benzene are also the example of your compound, right? If I mix the two elements in and they combined chemically, they will form a compound, and the compound has some unique properties which do not match with the respective elements which involved in the combination, right? Here is the example of the elements. Elements, if you think about the example of the elements, it is the gold, silver, iron, copper, sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium is also an element. Lithium is also an element. We have this pictures. I have shared the pictures of the platinum, gold and silver. These are the metal, and the iron, I have shared the picture of the iron also. This is also an element, right? Now, element is further classified into three groups. First is the metal, second is the metalloid, and third one is the non-metal. What do you mean by metal, non-metal and the metalloid? If I talk about the metals, metals are good conductor of electricity and heat. Take the example of the iron, or if you heat from the one side, it will basically the heat will transfer, and the whole, if you heat the one rod of the iron from the one side, then the other side is also get warm. This is basically, it conducts the heat, and it also conducts the electricity. Why? Because all the wires in the home is made up of the metals, right? Metal, you can say aluminium or the copper is used to make the wires. If it is conducting electricity, that's why we have the lights in our homes, right? Whereas the non-metal do not conduct electricity and the heat. But there are the exceptions is there, which non-metal which conduct electricity is the graphite, which conduct electricity, right? Which is used in your pencils. Now, metals have the high melting and boiling point, which means they are solid at room temperature. Yes, all metals are solid at room temperature and they have the high melting and the boiling point. Just take an example of the gold, silver, platinum, copper, calcium, sodium, potassium. They all are solid at room temperature and they have the high melting and boiling point. Now, non-metals have the low melting and boiling point. They are mostly gaseous in nature. Just example is oxygen and nitrogen, hydrogen, fluorine, chlorine, argon, and neon. These are the non-metals. Metals are strong, do not shatter if you hammer them. They do not shatter means felt ऐसे बिखरते नहीं है टूट के जैसे इफ यू ब्रेक द ग्लास पीस ऑफ ग्लास तो कैसे बिखर जाता है वैसे ये मेटल्स बिखरते नहीं है राइट सॉलिड non-metals solid non-metals break up easily and they are brittle. Example of the solid non-metal is diamond and graphite, and iodine is the non-metal which is luxurious in nature and it will break with the brittle sound and it is a brittle in nature, right? And if I talk about the metals are the malleable and ductile. Malleable means they can be made into sheets and ductile means they can be made into the wires, right? If I talk about the non-metals are non-ductile and non-malleable. They are brittle. Metals are shiny or you can say luxurious. Non-metals are non-shiny and dull. Non-metals are sonorous in nature. Sonorous means they produce the ringing sound, you can say. If you strike one metal with the another metal, the sound is something ringing sound is there. Just take an example of your doorbell. If you put the on the doorbell button, it's a ringing sound. It's a metal touching the metal with a very high speed. That's why a ringing sound. Non-metals are non-brittle, non-sonorous. Metals have high density. They are very heavy. They have very high density because they are dense, and number of particles at a one place is very large. That's why they are dense in nature. Non-metals are lighter density, right? Metals are forming the positive ion, or you can say the metals form the cations and non-metals form the anion, that is the negatively charged species. If I talk about the metalloid, right, metalloids are having the properties which is in between the metal and non-metal. It has a property between the metal and non-metal. Just to take an example is the silicon, germanium, gallium are the no, silicon and the germanium and arsenic is there, which is an example of non-metal which has a property of the metal and the non-metal both, right, which we can use depending upon their property. We can use, they have the different applications, right? Just example, silicon is used in your mobile chips and electronic devices, computer devices, etc. Now we have the compound. What do you mean by compound? I already discussed that two or more elements are combined together and form a compound if they combine in a fixed ratio and they combine in a chemically. They should combine chemically and they should combine in a fixed ratio is known as a compound. Hydrogen plus oxygen will form the water, right? Hydrogen is a pure element, oxygen is an pure element, and hydrogen and oxygen mix together in a fixed ratio. Water a pure compound from the hydrogen burning in the oxygen. Hydrogen and the oxygen both are the pure substances, pure elements. When they are combined together, they form a water, which is used. They go. Hydrogen is a combustible gas. Oxygen support the combustion, but water does not support combustion. That means the compound which is forming, the new substance which is forming, does not match its property with the constituent element. I have shown the picture of the hydrogen. Two molecules of hydrogen, H2 plus O2, will combine together and they react together with taking the certain amount of energy and they will form the water, that is H2O, which has the two hydrogen molecule and the one oxygen molecule. If you see the arrow Arrow has two sides. One is the right hand side, another is the left hand side. The left hand side is known as the reactant side and the right hand side is known as the product side. And what is undergoing into the reaction is the basically the intermediate state, which is showing at the top of the arrow, right? This is the property of the compound and the details about the compound. Now before proceeding to the lecture, you need to remember the periodic table elements from 1 to 20 for at least for the 7th class point of view. These elements are needed to be learned strictly for your 7th class, right? Now the noble gases, it has the noble gases, helium, neon and argon are the noble gases, and noble means which do not react with anybody. If I talk about the noble person, that means it does not it is no. If I talk about the noble gases means inert gases or inert. You can say the inert person. They don't react with anybody. They have their own you can say universe in which they are living, right? Helium is a noble gas, argon is a noble gas, and the neon is a noble gas for elements 1 to 20. Now I am pronouncing the elements. Please remember these elements. This is very important for your 1 to 20, for your 7th class and further classes, right? Hydrogen symbol is H. Helium He, lithium Li, beryllium Be, boron is B, carbon is C, nitrogen is N, oxygen is O, fluorine is N, neon is Ne, sodium is Na. Please remember the sodium has a symbol Na. Magnesium Mg, aluminium Al, silicon is Si, phosphorus is capital P, sulfur is capital S, chlorine is Cl, argon is Ar, potassium has a chemical symbol is K, and the calcium has Ca, right? You need to remember all the names and all the symbols and with their spellings, right? This is 1 to 20, right? Now, what do you mean by molecule? The molecule of an element contains two or more similar atoms chemically combined together in a fixed ratio. Molecules and the compounds are almost same. If I talk about all the compounds are molecule, but all molecules are not compound. It has two compounds is made up of the two or more different elements or the atoms combined together in a fixed ratio. And combined chemically, but molecule, the two or more atoms of the same or different atoms combined together chemically in a fixed ratio is known as the molecule. That's why I can say that all the compounds are molecule, but all molecules are not compound. Example, water is a compound, water is a molecule. Example, hydrogen is a molecule, but hydrogen is not a compound. Why? Hydrogen is only made up of the one type of atom. Now, one molecule, this H2, if I talk about, it can be represented in a two ways. It is a molecule of hydrogen, but this one molecule of hydrogen consisting of the two hydrogen atoms, right? Here I have shown the diagram of the hydrogen molecule where one hydrogen atom combining with the another hydrogen atom, they are similar, right? Or you can say the same. They are combined together and form the H2. Now I have shown the carbon dioxide also. Carbon dioxide is nothing but the CO2. CO2 is carbon is in the middle and oxygen at the terminal. The red circle shows the oxygen and this black circle shows the carbon, that is the carbon dioxide. I have also shown the water. Water is H2O where oxygen is in the middle and the hydrogen is in the terminal, right? White is the hydrogen and the red portion is known as the oxygen. I have also shown the oxygen molecule where one oxygen combining with the another oxygen will form the O2. Now, if I summarize the all above lecture over here, then we have matter, Now, matter is divided into two substances, pure and the impure. Impure is the mixture. Pure is divided into two parts, elements and compound, and the examples are there. Mixture is divided into two forms. One is the homogeneous, another is the heterogeneous, right? Now, we have the ions. What do you mean by ion? Ion is nothing but the charged species. Charge can be, you know that the charged species, right? Charge can be positive and it can be negative also. If the charge is positive, then the species is known as the cation. If the charge is negative, the species is known as the anion. And cations are formed by losing the electrons and the anions are formed by gaining the electrons. How the cations and the anions are formed, I will explain in my next lecture. This will explain in the next lecture, right? Now, today for you just need to know that what do you mean by cation, what do you mean by anion, so that you will get the idea for the next class what is the cation and anion, how it is formed, that I will explain you in the next class, right? Then cation is the positively charged formed by losing electrons. Anion are the negatively charged species formed by gaining of the electrons, right? Electrons are the, I already told you, the electrons are the negatively charged species. Just take an example like your body contains the positive and the negative feelings both. If you remove the negative feelings treat as the electrons, then you are left with the positive feelings, then you will form you will be called as the cation. If now same, the neutral body consisting of the positive and the negative equally, right? If I put the negative feelings in you, then you will be more of the negative feelings, right? Now this body is known as the anion, right? How it is applied for your elements will do in the next class, right? Now I have shared some positively charged species and the negatively charged species chart over here. Just have a look and try to remember certain elements. For 1 to 20, you don't need to remember if it is a positive, it is a negative. I will explain you how it is positive, how it is negative. Today I am just showing the chart of your uh, cations and the anions. First is the potassium. Potassium is formed the cation, that is K positive. Potassium is a metal, that's why it is forming a cation. Sodium is a metal, it is forming the cation and it has a Na positive +1 charge. Copper is a metal, it is also forming +1. Silver, ammonium, hydrogen, and barium, calcium, magnesium, manganese, zinc, iron, nickel, cobalt, tin, cadmium, and lead, and the copper. If you see tin and iron, and certain more examples are there which are showing something in the something is there in the bracket and the language is written in the Roman, that is the charge of that species. Just take an example of the tin. If you see the symbol of the tin is SN, right? I don't know what is the charge on the tin. So think in the Roman language, in the bracket there is a two lines are there that shows that it has a 2 positive charge, right? If you talk about the left hand side, copper is there which has only the bracket consisting of 1, right? 1, that is the copper having the +1 charge. See all the examples and try to learn as much as possible and save this picture. Why? Because it is very important for your 7th class, 8th class, 9th class and further on, right? Now here are the examples of some certain anions. Hydroxide is an anion, hydride, fluoride, chloride, bromide, iodide, bicarbonate, bisulfate, bisulfate, chlorate, hypochlorite, nitrite, nitrate, permanganate, carbonate, chromate, dichromate, magnate, tetrathionate, sulfide, sulfite, sulfate, oxide, zincate, nitride, phosphate, ferrocyanide, phosphide, and ferrocyanide, and some. I think here is the one is the platinum, the which is Pt4 positive is the cation, right? So these are all anions and their examples, right? Now, here are the valencies. If I talk about the valency, and what do you mean by valency? Valency is nothing but how many electrons you need to complete your octet and how many electrons you need or you need to remove or you need to lose to complete your octet, elements octet, is known as the valency. Certain element shows the different type of the valencies, or they have the different type of valencies. Sorry, if I talk about the copper has a +1 and the +2. Mercury, it has a +2 and plus Hg2, 2 positive and Hg2 positive. Certain elements which have the more than one valency is known as the variable valency, right? You just need to remember these names and their symbols, right, for at least for the 7th class. Why it is important? Because it is very important to know that what is the chemical formula and how to make the chemical formula. You can only make the chemical formula once you remember the valency, or you remember the charges of that species, right? It is a positive, negative, or how much is the positive, how much is it is negative. Now we have a chemical formula. What do you mean by chemical formula? Chemical formula is nothing but the abbreviated form of a chemical substance. That means if I talk about your name, if your name is the Abhishek, right? Then sometimes the all friends call him Abhi. That is the abbreviated form of the Abhishek. So if I have a calcium carbonate or I have a water, so how can you write the abbreviated form of the water? That is H2O. Similarly, abbreviated means short form किसी का भी लिखना is known as the short form. किसी chemical substances का short में लिखना और symbolic form में लिखना is known as the chemical formula. Abbreviated form by compound can be abbreviated by the chemical formula. Represent the chemical composition of a molecule of a compound in terms of symbolic. You can say the symbolic representation. जैसे I have explained कि पानी is the water को कैसे लिखते हैं? H2O, right? Then carbon dioxide, CO2. Right, how to write the chemical formula? I have only shown the example. You just note down the points. First of all, you need to remember 1 to 20 elements, right? Secondly, you need to remember the symbol of each and every element. I have discussed earlier in the this PPTs, right? Now, first of all, you have to remember all the elements I have discussed with you. Then you have to remember the symbol of the elements. Third point is to remember the charges of the element. Now, how to write the chemical formula? Come over here. You have to write the, first of all, if I have to write the sodium oxide, then I have to write the symbol of the sodium and oxygen, just similar to what is written over here. And you have to write the charges. Sodium has a +1 charge. If you go back, you will see oxygen has -2 charge. I will show you. Here is the sodium. Sodium has a positive charge, that is the Na positive. That's why here is the Na positive. Similarly, that of the oxygen, it has a -2 charge. Then you have to cross multiply. If you cross multiply, the 2 will go to the sodium and the 1 will go to the oxygen, and the positive and the negative is not written in the chemical formulas, right? So it has a formula of Na2O. Right, this is the formula of the sodium oxide. If I have to write the formula of the aluminium chloride, then the name itself suggests that it has aluminium and the chlorine. So symbol of the aluminium and the chlorine first. The metal name will come first and the non-metal name will come at the next, right? Then what is the charge of the aluminum? It is a +3, and what is the charge of the chlorine is the -1. If you cross multiply, aluminum is Al1 and the Cl3. It is not represented. One आपको दिखाने की जरूरत नहीं होती. It is already understood होता है कि 1 वहां पे लिखा हुआ है, तो 1 को शो करने की जरूरत नहीं होती है, right? Similarly, I have shown the sodium sulfide is there. It is the third point. It is wrong. That is the formula of the sodium oxide. It is not the formula of sodium oxide. This is sodium sulfide. Please make a correction for this, right? Formula of magnesium hydroxide. Now, magnesium, you know that. What do you mean by hydroxide? If you go back and you will find the first name is the this is the first name. See, this is the hydroxide, right? This is hydroxide. This is OH. Magnesium is +2, hydroxide has a -1, right? If you cross multiply, the hydroxide word is a one thing, right? It is a one, right? So magnesium will get the one, that is Mg1. Hydroxide is one family. So O and H will come inside the bracket and the whole twice will be there, right? This is the way to represent the chemical formula. I have discussed this so many examples over here. Then this is your next slide will show your homework. This is the Pearson homework. You have to do this as soon as possible. There are the true and falses are there, match the followings are there, and the filling the blanks are there. Once the chapter will finish, I will provide you the more homework, right? Thank you guys.